So Manchester United and a host of other Premier League clubs have been linked with Southampton's Tyler Dibling. Now I have seen the reports that Southampton are apparently demanding £100 million, but that's so overpriced I'm not even going to entertain it at that price. I mean, they're getting relegated. Dibling has only just turned 19 and has 2 goals and 0 assists in 25 Premier League games. First of all, no one's going to be paying £50 million for him, let alone £100 million. And let's be real, with PSR, if Southampton get £40 to £45 million up front, after getting relegated, they're definitely going to sell. This is more just an attempt to drive up the price. And so that leads us on to the questions I'm going to be answering in this video. If Dibling was available for say around £40 million, is he a serious option that United should consider? How good is Dibling at the moment? And how high is his potential? If he were signed, what would be his primary role in Amorim's system? And are there any cheaper or just better alternatives of a similar profile? So let's start off with the first one. How good is Tyler Dibling? Well, I do rate Dibling highly, and from the eye test you can clearly see he has ability, with his dribbling being his best attribute. And he does have quite a unique dribbling style as well. It kind of reminds me of a mix between Cole Palmer and Jack Grealish, if that makes any sense. In terms of how close he keeps the ball to his left foot when running at the defender, which allows him to almost bait the opposition player into engaging, from where his footwork is quick enough to be able to shift the ball and then drive into the space presented. But just quickly, before I carry on the analysis, if you do want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to Dragon Jersey. They've got a variety of different current season and retro shirts, and depending on where you live, you can get a 7 to 12 day delivery time, as well as a 30-day money-back guarantee. But if you want to check out any of the details before you buy, they have got their WhatsApp and email on the site. If you use code Atlantis at checkout, you will get a 10% discount for a limited time, so I'll leave it linked in the description and in the comments section below. So Dibling doesn't have blistering pace, but like Grealish, his close ball control is so good that he's able to evade challenges, off balance and wrong foot defenders simply through his technical ability. When he comes inside onto his left foot, this is where we start to see the comparisons with Palmer, as he kind of has like a nonchalant aesthetic, where seemingly without much energy exerted, he's able to thread a pass, whip in a cross, switch play or release a shot, in a way that's very hard for opposition players to read prior to when he does it. And he has shown a few times that he does have a good shot on him from the edge of the box when he cuts inside onto his left foot, capable of either opening up his body, looking to place a shot in the far corner, or drive the ball with more power towards the near post. And so from the eye test at least, given his age, you can't deny that Dibling has talent. However, my issue is that in order to warrant a move to Manchester United at the moment, or really any big club for that matter, the output needs to match. And whilst he certainly has been hampered by playing in a pretty terrible Southampton side, even factoring that in, I just don't see how his current output can justify a move for the sort of money that Southampton are demanding. Obviously his goal scoring and chance creation numbers aren't going to be the highest due to the side he's in, and his FBref report from the Premier League this season does back that up. But even when compared against midfielders, his chance creation stats, such as these XG assisted, expected assists, and these other ball progression numbers are still below average. Saying that, he does rank highly for his through balls and his passes into the penalty area, which does tell me that he could develop into a multifaceted ball progression threat. Similar in style to Jack Grealish when he initially joined Manchester City, he's not really a natural winger or an inside forward, but more of what you'd call a wide playmaker or maybe even a Mezzala depending on the system, being someone who can look to receive the ball in a wide position, drive forward pushing the fullback backwards, where from like Grealish, I'd describe Dibling as a reactive dribbler, someone who patiently waits for the defender to commit before then going one way or the other, or if the defender continues to back off and give him space, this is where he can either look to thread a pass into a player in the box or cut inside into a crossing or shooting position. I think long term the role Dibling would play in Ruben Amorim's 3-4-3 if he was signed by United would be in the front three as the right-sided interior forward, but at this point in his career I think he'd be better suited to playing as a right wing back. And so I do see his stylistic development path being fairly similar to Ahmad's, but at this point in time, whilst Ahmad could definitely move between the right wing back and right interior forward roles, I'm not sure if Dibling quite has the output in his game, at least to be playing that role for Manchester United. However, his close ball control, intricate dribbling, and eye for a through ball tells me that his skill set is suited to playing more of a central role, picking up central areas in the half space, rather than solely out wide like someone like Quenda on the outside of the defensive shape, receiving the ball and isolating the fullback in a 1v1. And so Dibling without doubt has potential, although for what he would cost, I don't know if the potential alone makes him worth that. And what I mean by this is that if you are going to pay £40 million for a newly turned 19-year-old, their potential in the next 2 to 3 years has to be that of a £60 million player at least. Otherwise you're paying the same sort of price that you could probably get them for in a few years if you just let them develop. Which brings up the same issues I had with the potential Quenda deal. If United were to sign Dibling or Quenda before he went to Chelsea, I would see it being viable if they were valued around £30 million or under. Otherwise, I just don't see it being worth it, because you could pay £40 million plus for a player who is maybe only a few years older but has a higher level of current ability, which makes it a lot less risky than banking on unrealised potential, if that makes any sense. Chelsea signing Cole Palmer for £40 million in the summer of 2023 does now seem like a bargain, but he's kind of an anomaly and you can't really rely on that. And whilst I do rate Dibling highly, at this point in time I can't really see him developing into one of the best players in the Premier League within the next 2 to 3 years, maybe when he hits his mid-20s, but I think that's too far away to warrant paying such a high fee. If United could get him for maybe between £25–30 million max, then you do have a case, as I think he's probably as good in terms of current ability and potential as a player like Roger Fernandes at Braga, who I did do a video on before, so I'll leave that linked in the eye above, and he'd probably cost around 25 to a maximum of £30 million as well. But considering you could get players like Jeremy Frimpong, Semenyo, Dwight McNeil, Sergio Conceição, Edin Segrova, or Johan Bakayoko for £35 million or even less, I just can't get behind spending £40 million plus on Dibling, who would still need some improvement to reach the levels of the players I've just mentioned in terms of current ability. So if it's not Dibling, who are some alternatives? Well, before I talk about a few different names, if you do want to read any of my articles on Patreon, you can get a 7-day free trial, and you can sign up for the Instagram group chat as well and get it included. I'll leave it linked in the eye above, description, comment section, and on the end screen after the video. So if we are talking about the £35 to £40 million bracket for either wing backs or interior forwards, who are around the same age profile as Dibling, the only two that I can think of that would probably be worth the risk at that amount would be two players joining Chelsea this summer, Kendry Páez and Estavio Willian, and that's only because I think both players genuinely have Ballon d'Or contender level potential, but even then neither of them have played in Europe at all and are still under 18, and so even those two players wouldn't be an immediate yes for United this season. Brahim Diaz, who is slightly older, could be available for between £35 to £40 million, and he would be a much better option if United were looking for a player in the mould of Tyler Dibling, as like Dibling, you could use Diaz either as a right wing back or as a right-sided interior forward, as he has the intricate close ball control and the 1v1 dribbling ability that Dibling would provide, but given his age, his output next season and even for the next 1 to 2 seasons is going to be a level above what Dibling could probably provide. Personally, if United wanted someone with a similar age profile, I'd rather go with Roger Fernandes for around £25 million, maybe around £30 million with fairly realistic add-ons at the maximum. If you could get Kubo from Real Sociedad for under £40 million, I think that would be a good deal, but I think he's likely to cost more than that. However, two players who would cost around the same as Dibling, most probably even less, maybe around £30 to £35 million, depending on the structure of the deals, would be Kang-in Lee at PSG and Matthias Süle at Roma. I think both players have potential as high as Dibling, but are also a level above him in terms of current ability, and in a separate video I'm going to compare both players and who would be a better fit for Ruben Amorim's Manchester United. But even if Dibling was to cost around £35 million, I think I would still prefer Kang-in Lee or Matthias Süle. So overall, I think there are better options on the market at that price, because I think Dibling is going to cost at least £40 million, maybe if he was between 20 to 25 million, but certainly not over 30 million. Kang-in Lee would probably cost around £35 million I'd estimate, and I think his output over the next 2 seasons would be a level above what Dibling can provide. But considering where United are and the fact that Amad is essentially a better version of Dibling stylistically, to me it just doesn't make sense to spend that sort of money. Kang-in Lee would provide the ability to receive the ball between the lines, probably having better close ball Silva while matter with pace, with Matthias Süle on the other hand being closer in style to Garnacho, but I would argue that his close ball control and dribbling is currently at a higher level than Garnacho's, who is very much someone who wants to run into space with or without the ball, whereas Süle is a bit more of a blend between Garnacho and Amad because of his technical ability. And I'll go into the analysis more in a separate video on both players, so if you do want to see that, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you do get notified when that video comes out. And if you want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to Dragon Jersey. It'll be linked in the description and comment section, and you can use code Atlantis at checkout for a 10% discount. And I'll leave my Patreon linked on the end screen alongside another video as well.